we all have a to-do list. There's lots of stuff on it. You got to get your dry cleaning. You got to get your milk. Here's an idea. Save hundreds of dollars on car insurance on your to-do list. And the good thing is you don't have to drop off or pick up anything. All you have to do is go to geico.com. In 15 minutes, you could be saving 15% or more on car insurance, extra money in your pocket. It may be the most rewarding thing you do today.
Now, Podcast One brings you Spike's Car Radio, a downloadable cars and coffee, hosted by writer, comedian, and automotive enthusiast, Spike Ferriston. Now, here's Spike.
Welcome to Spike's Car Radio, everybody. We're here on a Wednesday. We're happy to be with you. I'm here in the studio with Zuckerman. We have Paul Boutros coming on a little bit later. He's going to be bringing, he's from Phillips Watches. He was here once before. He brought the Paul Newman watches.
Yes.
Beautiful watches. Set a record with that watch that has now been broken, apparently, by some sort of Phillips. No, what was it? There was a Patek Philippe auction watch a couple weeks ago that went off. You'll know this. 33 million, but Swiss dollars. Is that the equivalent to U.S. dollars? What is that, Zuckerman?
I have no idea. I actually think it's close to. It may be worth more. I don't know. I can't believe it. Do you believe that?
Well, no, I don't have to believe in it. It's factual. Hodinkee reported it, and yeah, I do. It was one of these auctions, apparently, where every manufacturer does a one-off, right? And they put one out, and the billionaire guys show up, and they all buy the watch. Now, Matt Farah kind of cynically said this is a kind of a backdoor way to a big tax break, i.e. you pay $30 million for the watch, you get the charitable donation, and then you, on the schneid, sell the watch kind of privately, get some more money back. But I do know that all those sales, they have to be legit. It's a really cool auction. I mean, if you got that kind of money to burn. And anyway, the Patek Philippe set the world record, and they put it out there as this is the most expensive watch sold. Anyway, back to Boutros. He's coming in with, I know one of the here they are. Marlon Brando's Apocalypse Now Rolex GMT Master.
Why do we laugh about that? Why is that funny?
Because of Brando.
Yes.
Right, there might be mashed potatoes on the watch or something like that.
The horror, that should be
I would want that one.
great.
I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies.
Arclight.
The Jack and the Jack Nicklaus Rolex Day Date. Nicklaus. Yeah, Jack Nicklaus. But he's... But some cool watches. He'll be on in a little bit. In the meantime, I thought, well, how are we going to fill the front half of the show? Because I'm not sure we can fill the whole half with two watches. And I asked our listeners, Zuckerman, if they had any legal questions. We've been talking about doing this for about 6 or 7 months. Having the listeners throw out either car-related or regular legal questions, and you and I will Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla it, for lack of a better. I would be the Adam Carolla. You would be the actual qualified guy, kind of. I'm not sure.
I'm the voice of reason in this case?
Well, you're the voice of the law.
Oh.
Right?
Yes.
And I don't even think any of these questions are really in the area of law that you cover, but maybe some will be, and you can either give advice or
But I can be like Drew, and I can just sound knowledgeable about
I think
everything.
You always sound knowledgeable about the law, right? Even when you're saying this isn't my area, but this would be my opinion. Right? Does that sound good?
I like the way that sounds.
Do we need to add any disclaimers?
No. Let's just go.
No, like anything I say should not be.
I'll say what I know and what I don't know.
Right.
And generally, I know a lot less than I do know.
I think you know a lot. I've heard you say a lot of very smart things. Like I said to you when we were talking about even doing this, or no, maybe it was the 992 debate show.
Yes.
I was saying you're dead wrong about how to pronounce Porsche, but you made a very good argument, and I almost believed you, but then I didn't. But it showed me your talent for making arguments in a courtroom.
Yes.
Not that we're doing that today. All right, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Here's the first question. Mini, and you haven't looked at any of these, right? I haven't either.
None.
So forgive me. I'm just going to go by the top comments that people liked. Mini and Max Pugs, you know those folks. They're
not Steve Levy.
Not Steve Levy. What's going to happen to the auto industry, insurance industry, in the age of self-driving cars? Won't all liability rest with the manufacturer? And what will that mean for you PI lawyers?
That's a very, very good question, one that we debate all of the time. However, I think that automatic cars will lead to a whole new field of liability. Yes, the manufacturers will always be blamed because they're just another target. They're just another deep pocket. And people
and blamed because perhaps like the Tesla.
Yeah, it didn't work right. It didn't work right. But then Tesla's always going to say there's driver error. It'll just be another defendant to exploit. And I think that, as I told you, I know a guy who had a Tesla. It was in self-driving mode. He had an accident. He complained that the car malfunctioned. The insurance company repaired the car, but then would not insure it again because of the claim of malfunction. And then he, being a lawyer, had to actually sue the insurance company to get them to extend coverage. So that one little initial kind of a thing said, my God, there's going to be all sorts of litigation about these cars. And
so what does he end up doing? So he says his car's pretty much a lemon, right?
Well, he said it malfunctioned in this case. Well, fair enough.
So now it can't be registered. Now it's done.
Well, no, he ended up getting insurance on it. But it shows that there's a predicament because every time you come up with a solution, there's an unintended consequence. So now we're going to have a solution which is a self-driving car, which is going to take driver error out of the equation. Mm-hmm. The car crashes. The user, the driver, says that there was a malfunction in the car. Now the insurance company, lo and behold, says, we don't want to insure that thing. Now, I never would have thought about that beforehand. And now I'm looking at it and going, this is hilarious. This is, again, the best laid plans of mice and men.
Right. So you're excited about it.
Nothing is changing my business. Until we go around in our own self-contained bubbles, we're going to be hurting each other.
Right.
And the more we rely on other things, the more we take ourselves out of control, I think the more things happen.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Machines are not the solution, Ferriston. Common sense, reasonable care.
I have to tell you, I'm not sure I agree. I use this iPhone, and it never malfunctions.
Sure, they're just listening to you all the time.
I'm joking. Every electronic thing I have, including last night. Listen to last night. And this has happened to me twice in SUVs, and I'm not even going to say that it's the SUV's fault. I'm picking up my son at Little League, right? And I've got another kid in the car and Gopher, and I go out to put money in the meter, and I leave the dog in there, and I leave the car running. And when I come back to open the door,
he's locked it.
He's locked in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't blame the truck. This happened to me once in an Audi where the Audi truck locked itself with the key in it, but the car wasn't turned on. That was the Audi. That was an old Q8. This one, I'm like, it's never malfunctioned like that. I think little Gopher hit the lock button.
Sure.
Yeah, and locked himself in. So we spent the better part of a half an hour trying to, goad him to the right place to unlock it, which never happened. Then my wife, who was leaving on a business trip,
came with a spare key.
Came with a spare. Was not happy with me or the situation, or frankly something I'd never done, which is leave a car running with a dog in it just to go put money in the meter for a split second, thinking the dog may run out under a car. Right.
So anyway, there is your decision with the interface of technology.
But listen, it was just this isn't a legal thing at all. But it's a really interesting predicament because. Even when I had the other key, the door didn't want to open up. So now I've got a key in the car, a key out of the car, and the Range Rover is thinking, I'm going to protect the person inside or the dog inside the car because it hit the lock and it doesn't want this person.
It's running.
And it's
you
running.
You shouldn't be able to open from the outside while the car's running.
Eventually it did. Yeah, eventually it did, but it didn't at first, and that really spooked me.
I commend you for patience because I would have just bashed the window and been done with it.
It was so funny to watch the dog, and we had a couple of dads trying to get the dog, and the kids were laughing. It was really a funny predicament. And it was funny, too, that the wife was playing my role in this situation to coming to the rescue, right?
Yeah.
Which she did, and she did a great job, and she was very sweet to do that, and she didn't yell at me, so it was nice. And the dog is out. Anyways, let's move on to other legal questions. On renting, low-end garage in Chicago. On renting a car with Truro, what is the legality if I'm in an accident? My insurance agent had no info for me. Turo offers varying levels of insurance, but selecting one of those negates the savings versus a traditional rental company.
Right, exactly. So I'm not familiar with these contracts. So I'll preface this by saying I've never read the Truro contract. Right. I will speak from California insurance policies. Generally speaking, if you have your own policy of insurance with full coverage, for your car, your policy says that you're covered in what's known as a substitute vehicle. That's a rental car. As long as it's not a regular user car, like you can't just buy a car and say, well, it's a substitute car covered under my other policy. So if I get in a rental, my coverage that I have on my 911 applies to the rental car. The rental companies sell you extra insurance, and it's that's their gravy train. You see, in other words, if I buy that extra insurance, I'm actually paying to change my risk that I was accepting on my own car. So why not have the same risk level in a rental car as your own car? You don't need the extra insurance because it does take away your savings. That $15 a day, that's gravy for the insurance company. They're ripping you off.
Right. And, on top of which, a lot of credit cards cover you automatically.
There's some of that, too. Right. I've never really tested the credit card theory. I've never seen it in action, so I can't say if it works. But I would, again, say you got to look at, and most times, by the way, the Truro policy will say that your own auto insurance is primary. So you pay for this extra coverage. It's illusory. Your own insurance is going to be primary.
Yes. They should be saying, you want to give us some free money?
Yes, exactly.
We love to get $15 free dollars a day if you'd be happy to give it to us. Right. That's good.
A lot of these...
You're clearing up a big issue.
A lot of the people that work at, say, Enterprise or some of these other rental agencies, they work on commission. So with the extras they sell you, they get a little piece. It's like the service tech at Amco. He's actually on commission.
Yeah.
You don't realize you're going there to get your tranny fixed, and that guy's looking at you as a profit-loss opportunity. Can he sell you some extra?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Careful, guys.
We're learning. We're learning. I like Truro, though. Good company. We keep running into a lot of people out there. Listeners, if you want to come to L.A. and you don't have a cool car, you call up or you go on to Truro.com. This is a free plug for Truro. They've got cool sports cars. You rent it for the day. Hoon them out in the canyons. Come see us in Malibu. And it's every time we meet some fans doing that, they're always having a good day. The cars break down occasionally. They don't care. It's a good time.
Who's owning these Truro cars? Does Truro own them?
Independent people with cars. You could be a Truro guy if you wanted. You could put your collection on Truro.
And just let anybody drive the cars.
Just let anybody drive it. Yeah, why not?
Why not?
But if you're let's say you're a guy in your 20s and you've got this car and you want to, help get someone to pay for it, and you don't mind doing the maintenance or fixing the things they break. I think I would have done that when I was a kid.
Let me tell you something. Then the question is, if I give my car to Truro, and somebody is driving it and gets into an accident, does my insurance cover that? Now, some insurance policies are going to exclude commercial purposes. Now, I can lend my friend Spike Ferriston any one of my cars, and he's covered. He is also an insured. He's a permissive user. But if I give it to Truro, and I'm now in the business of renting out my car, it's a commercial purpose. A lot of insurance companies are going to exclude that. So if you're going to give the car to Truro, you better make sure Truro has a policy that covers your car and covers you, because your insurance company may come along and say, we're not covering that loss.
Yes. That's probably in the neighborhood of a $10 million policy, right?
Yeah, I have no idea what they have, but I know that every so often if a guy
drives off a cliff.
Or I've seen guys who are using their car to deliver pizzas, and they get in an accident, and their insurance company says, we're not covering you. We're using your car for a commercial purpose.
Right. So, in other words,
you better be careful. You better know what you're getting covered for if you're going to be a person that gives their car to Truro.
Here's a good question. And you may not know it because it's kind of a criminal moving violation type thing. Can one validly be given a moving violation by a police officer without actually being pulled over? I'm not talking about red light or speeding camera tickets. I'm talking about a police officer hits your plate and sends the ticket in the mail.
I have never heard of that, and I would fight that. I would want to know under what jurisdiction can they just mail you tickets.
He's saying it sure feels like harassment. Sure as hell
feels like
it. I don't know if
it feels like harassment as much as...
That's one where you definitely want to lawyer up with your local Sherman Helmsley or whatever.
We have Sherman Ellison. We're going to give our wretched friend
I don't
Sherman
use
Ellison.
him. I use Trent Copeland.
Is he good?
These are like traffic level lawyers who fight tickets, and you write them a check, and they go to court for you, and they make stupid stuff like this go away.
Sherman Ellison's
Travis
really
is great. Yeah, he's great.
He's really good at that. He's made quite a career. and he does not reward my loyalty. He charges me ever-increasing numbers.
Oh, really?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
getting worse. I'm still. I have to tell you right now, I have not had a ticket in years.
Why would you say that?
Because I don't believe in any of that crap
I do.
and knocking on wood and the rest of it.
Yeah,
you think you think if I knock on this piece of wood, it will or will not happen?
No, but what you're pointing out is that for someone that drives like you to not have had a ticket
Safely.
for a long time,
Safely.
your number's up.
It's not. I have figured out the system, and I credit
Oh,
You wanna hear
Ferris,
it?
I've got figured out the system. This
Here
is
it is.
very Fatsian. This is
Fatsian?
Yes, you're how
could
many?
not prove his theories with results, and I have results here. I
Okay,
have
but
results.
he had systems to win at the horses, the dogs, the cars.
No, he lost constantly. We're
Yes,
talking
because
about
he had a
Fats,
system.
my dad.
Yes,
who's
he
no
had a
longer
system.
here. He's now a hummingbird.
Yeah, and he liked
but here-
gambling.
look, I'm telling you, I think I'm pushing into my 4th year without a ticket right now, which is really great for me.
Oh, you're going to
I
get
have
fucked.
bragged about it a year ago, and even in that year, I have not gotten a ticket. And I'll tell you what it is, all right? First of all, I do try to drive safely, except when I'm with you. 1. 2, Waze.
Yes,
The
yes,
people in
okay.
LA, I love you because when they see a police officer, they put it on Waze, and more often than not,
That's
there
a big
and that
help.
stops. I will tell you also, it feels like the city of LA is not putting up speed traps as much. Like we had that issue with surveys on Sunset where they weren't illegally allowed to.
Magical thinking, Ferris, in here.
It's not magical. I'm not seeing them. I'm not going through there. And furthermore, I'm kind of chill on the road. Now, let's see. Let's see if a year from now, today I'm driving today to the National Hot Rod Drag Racing Championship out to Pomona and back. I'll come back.
I'm going to bet you,
ticket.
listeners, I'm betting $100 right now. Ferriston will not make it the next 365 days without a movie violation.
Hey Siri. 1 year from today, remind me that Zuckerman owes me $100.
For what?
Now it put for what in there, Zuckerman?
Okay, your reminder is set for November 15th, 2020.
And?
You'll owe me $100.
But you
so I
don't,
won't have a ticket.
But the what is you're not going to know why. You're not going to remember, old man.
Well,
old man, you need to put
I
in.
want to get on with the show here. That's not important.
We'll be
But it's
sitting
on my
around like
calendar.
two idiots in a year
And
saying,
I won't
"What?"
care.
Yeah,
You'll just give me $100. You won't care. You've got a gold money counter. All right, here we go. I'm just going to jump into this question without reading it. If a part from a manufacturer has a well-documented history of breaking, why is the customer expected to pay for it? Presumably, the part would be classified as defective. In my case, the charge pipe in my pre-owned 1M blew to smithereens within a week of owning it. A very common issue with the N54 motor.
Okay,
But isn't that covered under warranty?
Well, no, because a 1M is old. It's out of warranty. My charge pipe blew out on me as well, and I replaced it with an aftermarket charge pipe that is made of some different material that will not explode.
But he's asking, why is he expected to pay for that?
Okay. Was he the original purchaser
He
of
doesn't
said...
say, but let's assume he's not.
He's not. So he bought the car
As
from
is.
another owner, as is, where is, and this is like the buyer beware thing. It's like what we know about timing chains and other things with different vehicles having known weak points. And this is one of the things that then goes into the resale value of a 1M. And you learn that when you finally do replace that part, you have to use a subsequent manufacturer's part that has the tolerances.
Areopolis wants to know. Mr. Zuckerman, he says, with an exclamation point. Mr. Zuckerman! And he's posing a hypothetical, but it sounds like it actually happened to him. What should I do if I were to get into an accident with someone I didn't feel safe sticking around? Say I felt the other person might get violent. Maybe they drive a truck with a lot of pro-gun bumper stickers and anti-Porsche window decals like Calvin pissing on the Porsche crest. If I stay, what do I do? If I go, then where do I go? Who do I call? Obviously, if you stay, you exchange information.
Yeah.
Can he leave the scene of an accident?
Okay.
I mean, here's a better question, Zuckerman. What, and we dealt with it a level with this Kevin Hart accident, right? what constitutes leaving the scene of an accident and not? Like, is a fender bender leaving the scene of an accident criminally, or is there a degree of accident that you can't leave?
Well, certainly if you – well, we get into all sorts of speculation. Obviously, he's saying he's afraid. So that means that the other driver is not dead. You couldn't leave a dead person. You'd be in a lot of trouble for that.
Right.
I would say that if you got into an accident with somebody and you really had an honest belief that this person was going to do violence, you would probably be best to drive to the closest police station while calling the police and saying, look, I was in an accident. I'm worried that this person might be violent. I'm headed to the closest police department. And that way you've covered your ass that you're not fleeing the scene of an accident. You're showing your good intention. So what you want to do is you don't want to, if you have to flee, you don't want to just drive home, lock the door, and hide under the bed and wait out the amount of alcohol.
Right, you want to do the right thing. But you know what I'm saying. Say I'm driving up the street and I hit somebody's side mirror and break it off and then keep going. Yeah. Am I leaving the scene of an accident?
Yes, you are. You should sit. You always have to
So
exchange.
I am criminally liable in that situation, even though we know I'm not going to get prosecuted. But am I technically?
Yes, you can't damage somebody's property and just take off and go, ha ha, I got away with it. Nobody saw me.
I didn't say I was going to go, ha ha. I said I've got other stuff to do.
You have to exchange. Now, once I've exchanged information, okay, I've given my name and my insurance company to the other driver. He wants me to stay there for the police or whatever. Fuck you, I'm leaving, okay? I'm not staying around just because you want to stay around. I'm going to stay. Yeah, remember the other day I got rear-ended.
Yes.
This guy rear-ended me. I said, I don't think you did anything. And I said, give me your information. And then I left. He wanted to stay. I don't know why.
Didn't he want your information?
Well, yeah, and I probably should have given my info, but I said.
You didn't, right?
You know, I said to him, he kept saying I didn't do anything. Oh, and I just, that's not the point. Just give me your information. And then he said, I'm being rude. I said, I think it's rude that you hit me. And then I said, just let me have I said, just give me your driver's license and your insurance. I'll take pictures. If there's an issue, you'll hear from me. And then I was walking away, and he said to me, what about your information? And I said, I'll give you my information when I hit you. And
and that was it.
That was it.
Yeah, what is he going to do? Call the police and go, the guy I hit wouldn't give me his information.
Right.
And you know at this point you don't really need it. But here's another thing not to do. Don't stop in the middle of the road and freeze the accident. This is very important that you don't, hold on, you don't have to freeze like a game of freeze tag in the road and block the road. You can safely get off to the side, get out of your cars and do your business. Stop that, right? Tell everybody they don't legally need to stay frozen.
Just get over it. And here's what I'm going to say. Most people are honest at the scene of the accident. I'm going to encourage people, go on, make a little video or write something out that says whose fault is whose fault or whatever. End the situation right there. It's later on that people. So if you are not at fault, get somebody to.
You're saying if it's friendly, get them to admit fault at the scene because later they start changing their story.
Yeah, because when they realize what's going to happen financially, then they start to think about how it's your damn fault that you stopped so fast and I rear-ended you.
Right, because I've heard you just don't say anything. You don't admit fault.
That's your insurance company who's trying to preserve their opportunity not to pay and further fuck over the person who's not at fault. You know, the guy said to me that pissed me off. I got out and I said, what's wrong with you? And he said, it was just an accident. It was just an accident. Well, I've been driving for how many years? 40 years or something. I haven't rear-ended anybody.
I better knock on wood, Zuckerman. Come on.
Yes, I'm due.
I almost did.
But I didn't
like
his dismissive attitude.
The Aston Martin, I almost hit about a dozen people. That thing is
fast
so fast
and out of control.
It was just, it's fast and out of control and fun. Boy, I missed that car. That was a fun car. How can I legally pursue the trucks throwing rocks behind them and smashing my windshield on the freeway? Well, the Italian is asking that question.
Okay, so you definitely, if you can get their license plate, if they are dropping rocks out of their truck. Now, if they're just kicking up gravel from the roadway, you're following too closely, and you're not being very smart being behind a truck. I won't be behind a truck that's pinging me with gravel.
Right.
But if something's coming off of the truck, then you are able then to get their plate or their identification, and you could make a claim against them. In theory, you could make a claim against your glass policy or your insurance company, and it's not your fault if you said that this truck dumped a whole bunch of shit on you and you couldn't get their information.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I like that.
In California, insurance only goes up if you're the at-fault party.
Got it. My father is a lawyer. He was semi-upset I didn't follow in his footsteps.
Oh, well.
You have a lot of personal experience
Yes.
with this one.
Yes.
How would you feel about your children practicing law? Well, they probably are going to. I happen to know that. Would you encourage or discourage that decision? I think more interestingly, Zuckerman, well, your dad was a doctor, right?
Yeah, he loathed personal injury
And right.
lawyers.
And what did you become?
A personal injury lawyer.
But
There
didn't you
go.
wait till his passing to pursue that? Or
No,
not?
no. I started. He was alive.
Do you think that was just a rebellious reaction on your part?
It's just the way the world works. Shakespeare wrote about this stuff, right? I mean, this is...
Well, usually you do what your dad does. I mean, aren't you more prone to do that? Did you ever consider being a doctor? I almost was a doctor. My mom's a nurse. My grandfather was a gynecologist. And
Okay, in my world, Jewish Long Island, you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer. Doctor, lawyer, doctor, lawyer. Nobody told me about movies. Nobody told me about finance. It was just a doctor or a lawyer, and I was not about to go through medical school. And I really don't like the human body if it doesn't belong to me.
yeah.
So, no, it was... Law school I was destined to be.
But why? Yeah, all right.
But the choice of profession was interesting in light of his loathing of...
Well, you found your exact right spot.
Exactly.
Zuckerman. You found your exact
That's
right
exactly
spot.
right.
You talk like the people you help.
Yes.
Right? All
Thank
right,
you, Kings Park High School in New York.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on the legality and liability of Tesla's Smart Summon, which is, you press your button or you hit your app. I don't know how it works, and the Tesla comes across the parking lot to you and picks you up.
Oh, thank you. I hear the angels sing and the cash bells ring. Thank you very much, Tesla. It's such a bad idea.
It is, right?
It's just such a bad idea.
And Tesla, they're the ones that you go after, right? When it runs over the cat or something.
Runs over anybody.
Okay. This is one you may not know. But where is the line on fraud, which may not be the right word, when buying from a private seller? Since most states consider as is, it seems to be a high bar. However, there have to be examples of when their knowledge of something material that they didn't share with you is considered fraud. Example,
Absolutely.
a major mechanical issue or prior accident damage.
Yes, and you've answered your own question by saying that if you buy as is, it's a hard bar to overcome unless you can prove that the seller affirmatively concealed some very dispositive items from you.
Mm-hmm.
This is why in the olden days there were no salvage titles. It didn't notify buyers about the history of the car. Now there's a salvage title, but we know you can wash those titles by going out of state to funny little
Alabama.
states. Alabama, maybe New Hampshire. I don't know.
Every time I hear about that, I really want to just go live in places like that where I could do that. Imagine the stuff we could put on the road, right?
Oh, God. But imagine having to live there.
I like New Hampshire. I've never been to Alabama, but I would imagine there's probably, I like canoes and fishing and stuff. It'd be all right. As long as there's not a lot of humidity, right?
I hate it. I hate snow, too. New Hampshire's beautiful.
It's cold as hell.
New Hampshire
But they got those really cool, highway alcohol stops that are really
packaged
great.
liquor stores.
Packies.
Yeah. And they've got covered bridges.
I think you're doing a service today, Zuckerman. You're helping people. You're giving them free legal advice. How long should a medical malpractice lawsuit take, start to finish, average?
Oh, I can only
Jim Corkle.
Mr.
25.
Corkle.
Jim Corkle 25, which means there are 24 other Jim Corkles, at least.
Yes. Corkle the 25th.
Corkle! Yes, Swiggins.
Yes, Corkle 25. Okay, Senor Corkle, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to answer this as if this is in California.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you that lawsuits can take a couple of years, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer. So in a very general question like that, in the state of California, a lawsuit could go on a couple of years before you prevail.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Sounds about right.
Yep.
6 months after my trip to Italy, this is good. We'll be dealing with this soon. I got a speeding ticket.
Oh.
Paid the fines online. surprised the Italians are online. Another month later, I got another for their ZTL zone in Florence. These are all these speed cameras,
Yes.
right? If I don't pay, will I not be able to rent a car anymore when I visit Italy? I know you may not be familiar with their traffic code, but you guys are well-traveled.
Well, I will tell you, I don't think Interpol is going to come knocking on your door, but I got one of those tickets last summer in Corsica, which I promptly threw in the trash. So we're going to find out if I go back. I will have to let you know in the next year or two.
How much was the ticket for?
It was euros.
It's right in the trash.
It was right in the trash. I wasn't about to figure out how to deal with this.
What are the odds that the Italians have connected that to anything, right? Zero, I don't think.
Okay, so then...
These are happy, wine-drinking people who don't read the news.
We'll deal with it when we get there.
Yes. I love that. All right, let me see if we can find one more question, because I think Mr. Boutros is arriving. Oh, this is a common question that you and I always talk about. How do I fight speeding camera tickets? There is no way that stuff is on the up and up. And they're right. It's so confusing because here in L.A. you hear they're illegal and they can't do it, yet we all get these tickets, right? And I'm pretty sure my lawyer has gotten me off. No, but you know what? He didn't get me off one in Culver City. He said there's no way you can beat the Culver City camera, which I don't know what it means. And the stuff that you read is because there's not a police officer writing the ticket, you can't give it, right? And so there are these contradictory, almost like the marijuana selling laws in California where it's illegal, but they're doing it. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think in some of the...
It's confusing.
It's confusing. I remember Beverly Hills had a problem because they were not calibrating their cameras regularly such that they had reliability for legal sufficiency. I do not believe that these camera tickets constitute a moving violation. I'm not going to swear.
But you're right.
That.
I think the defense we had was when was the last calibration?
Right.
And they said it had just been done, so they were actually doing the calibrations,
right.
and that
so
was the only loophole.
Then you're screwed.
Right.
So I don't know. I just got one in Beverly Hills. Just a picture of my face, too.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see what to do with it. I'm going to make a couple of calls. So we can revisit this in a few weeks after I look into it.
Don't forget. I'll put it on that reminder a year from now.
Siri, remind Zuckerman to say something. What?
All right. Please talk about diminished value claims from accidents. The insurance company uses a standard formula which maxes compensation to 10% of the car's current value, which seems artificial and meant to limit proper compensation for cars like Porsches, Ferraris, etc. Anything exotic or pricey?
Well, this is interesting. Again, in California, if I'm in an accident, my insurance company has an obligation to return my vehicle to as close to pre-accident condition as possible. I cannot make in California a claim for diminished value against my insurance company. However, I can make a claim against the at-fault party for diminished value, because if my car can't be returned to pre-accident condition, which it can't. It'll never be. It's a wrecked car, and so then it's just a question of what is the diminution in value. And remember, for our friend Mr. John with the McLaren, we were able to get quite a diminution of value. Now,
correct.
You have to be the owner. If you're leasing the vehicle, you're not the proper party to claim a diminution of value. You're not the owner.
Bank does.
Yeah. So in California, you can make that claim against the opposing party, and assuming they have enough coverage, you can do quite well on it.
What happens if you are a passenger in a rideshare? You love these questions. Uber, let's say, is rear-ended and you are hurt. Does the passenger deal with the rear-ender, the driver, or the rideshare company's insurer?
So in California, the first thing you do is go to the at-fault driver and his insurance. So the person that rear-ends you is responsible. But fortunately, if that person doesn't have a lot of insurance, the rideshare programs have a very large coverage for uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage, and you can get additional coverages. In fact, we did so well with those that the insurance company for Uber has left the market. They will not be writing Uber policies anymore.
What if I have the bad Uber driver that causes the rear-ending?
Then you unlimited coverage, ka-ching. I've gotten millions.
Oh, right.
Here's my problem with rideshare drivers. Uber, for example, if you're the driver, you have to use their navigation app, either Maps, Waze, or Uber's navigation. Those programs tell you tell the driver the fastest way, not necessarily the safest way.
Right.
So the drivers are unfamiliar with where they're going, and they don't realize that they're taking a small, uncontrolled side street across 10 lanes of traffic on Olympic or Wilshire, and it doesn't necessarily promote safe outcomes.
Don't get me started on these people. They're the number one terror on the road in L.A. I can't. It's just
they
from the bad U-turns, from stopping in the middle of the road to get directions. That it makes me crazy. It absolutely makes me crazy. Well, anyway, that was fun, Zuckerman. I think we'll do more of this when we have more time. When we come back, Paul Boutros is going to be here with Marlon Brando's Apocalypse Now Rolex GMT, and you'll hear all about it. So, how do you know your motor oil isn't good enough to protect your engine? Well, you don't. But one brand does, because they literally go the extra mile to test everything. I'm talking about our friends Valvoline. Valvoline, that's right. They're the only motor oil brand in the world with an engine lab completely dedicated to testing motor oil. They take all the products, their competitors' products, and run them through the gauntlet. I'm talking thousands of miles. Then their engineers and technicians take those engines apart piece by piece to evaluate exactly what happened. Was there carbon buildup? How did the seals hold? Did the engine perform like it was supposed to? Most importantly, were the critical engine components protected? So when Valvoline is formulating motor oil for your engine, they know exactly how it performs and what protects it best, because they've seen the results firsthand. It's why I trust Valvoline in all my cars. Head on over to Valvoline.com/spike to see what products are right for you. Valvoline.com/spike.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
Come on in. Paul Boutros just walked in from Phillips Watch. It's good to see you again, sir. Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
This is exciting. It's Friday here for us, and you've brought watches. Now, first, before they're in a little velvet box here, and they're covered with little velvet cleaners.
He's got such a smile on his face.
He's got a big smile on his face. But let's set it up for our audience, all right? Because I didn't do my homework today.
No problem.
You're from Phillips, right? And you guys are the guys who sold the world record Daytona, right?
Exactly.
That was just broken, by the way, wasn't it?
It was just broken for a watch.
Okay.
Yes.
So tell us first about that sale. I know it wasn't your sale, or was it?
So last weekend in Geneva, a Patek Philippe wristwatch made for charity, and with all proceeds going to charity, the only watch charitable auction that takes place every 2 years in Geneva. It was a Patek Philippe Grandmaster chime. Unique piece with a salmon dial and a stainless steel case.
I saw it. Beautiful.
31 million Swiss francs it sold for.
How many dollars is that?
It's $31 million.
31 million. So it's the same, equal. Wow.
That broke the record.
That did.
For any wristwatch.
Wow.
We held the record until then with the sale of the Rolex Paul Newman Daytona.
Right, okay.
Which took place in October 2017 at Phillips in New York. About 2 years ago in the Winning Icons sale, and that watch sold for $17.8 million.
Your sale's more legitimate.
Right. It's not a charity.
It's not a tax write-off.
No, but is that a tax write-off? Like
the only watch possible, especially in Europe.
Right.
So
what would be the move? So you take the big tax deduction, right, and then you kind of sell it on the other side quietly.
It was probably bought by a collector. Right. Who would say the retail price was X, which is the fair market value, and the difference between what he paid and the retail price, which was probably about $2 million, that could possibly be the deduction.
Oh, amazing. Wow. Well, Patek collectors, huge. Okay, now.
So we've
got something very exciting here. So now your auction is when?
December 10th.
Okay.
In New York. It's called Game Changers.
Okay. And this is it's a perfect time. You're in New York. It's the holidays. People are feeling, they've had a good year. They've got money. Not us, but other people. They've been laundering money, and they've got the savings from laundering it. And they go, I want to get something special for me. I want to buy me the best present. And your auction is going to be that place, right?
Yes.
So what's the theme of this auction?
So we were very fortunate to get some exceptional timepieces owned by people who can be considered game changers in their fields.
Okay.
So it really started with Jack Nicklaus's Rolex Day Date, which he owned and wore for 50 years. He received it as a gift from Rolex in 1967. So when that watch was announced that Jack Nicklaus wanted to auction it, I hunted him down. Because I thought Phillips could help him very well, and we found a way to get to him. And
human hunters, and I murdered him and took the watch.
Well, I mean, we resonated strongly with his cause, the Nicholas Children's Healthcare Foundation that he founded with his wife Barbara, and it's such a noble cause. And the watch was donated to the charity, and the charity is actually auctioning the watch, and we're donating our profits for it. But we had Jack Nicklaus's watch. We had the MARLON Brando Rolex GMT Master that was worn in Apocalypse Now. That came to us.
Who had that?
That's
a cool watch.
His daughter. So he gave the watch to his daughter, Petra Brando Fisher, and on her wedding night, she gave it to her husband back in 2003.
Are they still married?
They're still married.
Oh.
And
look, you're such a bad. Dude, it's the first thing I thought of, but I wasn't going to say that.
Why?
I don't know.
Because it's relevant to the conversation. I'm trying to. Do you know what lot that is?
It's lot number 30.
30. Wow, look
you
at
have
you.
it here with
Amazing
you?
that you know
We
that.
do.
Wait, hold on. I want to look at a picture of it first. Oh yeah, there. Well, no, it's not. Oh yeah, it's this guy.
Let me see.
This is not what I can. This doesn't look like a normal GMT here. What?
Right. And there's a reason for it. And if you scroll down on the left, the picture's on the left side,
Okay.
you'll see images of Brando wearing the watch in Apocalypse Now
I see.
in that configuration right
Oh
there.
yeah, there he is.
And those pictures were taken on the set during the filming by Mary Ellen Mark. And
I'm on Phillips.com if you guys want to check this out. All the pictures are there.
so he Marlon Brando, believe it or not, was a watch guy, similar to Paul Newman in his own way. And he shows up to the set in the Philippines during the shooting of Apocalypse Now, wearing a Rolex GMT Master with a bezel with the numerals that indicate a second time zone. The producers thought it was too distracting. How Colonel Kurtz in his character would never wear a Rolex. But Marlon pushed back and he said, look, if they're paying more attention to my watch, I'm not doing my job as an actor. So he compromised and removed the bezel on the spot during the filming, and that's how the watch remains.
Oh, so that's why it looks like this.
That's why it looks like that.
So you know what a 1675 is, a Pepsi bezel, right?
Right.
Yeah, you know what that is. So, well, that presents like an interesting, it's an interesting story. Do you want to put that bezel back on there and make it look like a GMT?
You could. Because the bezel, if you want a bezel, we could find one for $1,000 or $2,000.
But
this is how the watch was given to his daughter.
right, yeah. No, when I saw it, I was immediately scratching my head.
It
which
looks
the
weird.
moment everyone will go, that's your conversation starter if you own the watch.
Right.
And then with these beautiful pictures.
But there's a secret that this watch held.
Okay.
So
Yes, I can read.
Petra and Russell is Petra Brando's husband.
Okay.
When they heard the news following the world record result of the Paul Newman sale, they realized that they have something special. This watch was sitting in a drawer unused. They support charitable causes, and they figured, you know what? We could put this watch to better use and raise funds for charity, and it'll be better appreciated by a collector, someone who loves film, someone who loves watches, and they decided to sell it. So she reaches out to me in a cryptic email. Hello, Paul. I found your name doing some research. I think I have something of great interest to Phillips. And that was it. And that statement, I think I have something of great interest to Phillips, motivated me to respond to her immediately. We spoke on the phone. The email was from Petra Fisher. It didn't say Petra Brando Fisher.
Right.
I Google search Petra Fisher. Nothing comes up. So I talked to her, and then she says, I'm Petra Brando Fisher. And I said, oh. my
Petra Brando, motherfucking Fisher.
I'm the daughter of Marlon Brando. My jaw drops. I'm trying to keep my cool.
Yeah.
And then she says exactly what I was hoping she would say, because the watch that Marlon Brando wore in Apocalypse Now was considered one of the greatest lost watches of modern times.
Wow,
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yes. And what she said, Paul, I have the watch my father wore in Apocalypse
way.
Now, and I almost fell out of my chair. And of course, I'm keeping my excitement contained, and I'm like, Petra, could you please send me pictures, because the pictures tell 1,000 words. I didn't know if it was beat up, if it was destroyed, if it had a replaced dial. She sends it to me. I open the pictures, and I see the watch looking great from the front. And then the second picture I opened was a secret that no one knew until that moment. he hand engraved his signature on the case back. M. Brando.
Wow.
And I was just floored. I couldn't believe it.
That's
and
what
it's
you wanted.
extraordinary.
And what else comes with the watch, aside for, I'm sure, a statement that she's made about the history of the watch?
Exactly. So 2 letters, one from Petra Brando talking about the history of the watch, how she received it, her father's love of time, and how obsessed he was with time, and how he wore multiple watches on occasion.
Did he ever wear 2 at the same time?
He did. He would wear one on the left wrist and one on the right wrist, keeping track of time in Los Angeles, and on the watch on the right wrist would keep track of time either in London or Tahiti.
Now, that if he put the GMT bezel on, he could do that without having to wear 2 watches.
But the GMT Master was perfect for it. So he had
thought, well, why don't I do that instead of wearing 8 watches?
So he had a daily wearing GMT Master, another 1675 that he wore every day, and we saw it. It's with Caroline Barrett, the mother of Petra Brando Fisher, and it's not a watch for auction because it had a replaced dial. It has no engravings.
Right.
This particular one was his special piece. He wore it only on special occasions, kept it in a closet in his room, took it out, and he wore it for the graduation of Petra when she finished undergrad at Brown University. He wore it then. And it's really well preserved. The watch has hardly any wear.
You have it here today.
We have it here today. So the Game Changers theme comes from these guys. Jack Nicklaus, greatest golfer of all time.
Look at him. He's looking like
the way he tells the story is.
I know.
Oh, Mr. Boutros is an excellent story.
Yeah, well,
excellent.
And we love being sold on things, right?
Yes, it's so special. I would give my life for this watch right now, or his life.
You guys,
whose life should we give?
I assure you, you're going to love it.
I noticed you didn't arrive with your security guard today in your briefcase.
I have some guys in the elevator to clobber you.
They're not far behind me.
Good.
So here we go.
All right.
I'm unveiling the 2 of them slowly.
Oh, magic.
Wow.
Jack Nicklaus is here. Marlon Brando is here. Game changers in every way.
Look at the patina on that watch. I gotta find a way to get an angle on it without reflection.
So because the watch
beautiful,
was
creamy looms
for years in a drawer, it developed that beautiful beige patina. Mm-hmm. The case has all of the original factory finish, where you've got these perfect bevels, the original brush surfaces on the tops of the lugs, the polished case sides, the chamfer that goes all the way throughout the case. It's all factory original, never polished. And then the magic is Marlon's own signature, done with his own hand, with an electric engraver pen.
That is the wrong button, Spike. Don't you hate that when you go to take a picture?
What year is that watch?
So the watch was made in 1972. The filming of Apocalypse Now is in 1976.
Wow.
So he
now,
never...
Do you think he did? Now, it's funny. It looks like he did the engraving himself.
He did.
With his own hand.
So he was funny in the sense that he loved to personalize his own things. So we've seen recorders with his name, Marlon, property of Marlon Brando, with his full address that he etched with a knife.
Wow.
So because he had a tendency to do that, somebody gifted him an electric engraver pen. He did this in front of Petra's mom. So he gets his new pen, engraves M. Brando on the case back, and then turns to Caroline Barrett, Petra's mom. Cool. Give me your watch. I want to engrave yours. She said, get away from me.
Let me hold the watch there for a second.
Now, it's not on a bracelet. And if you look at the back of the lugs, all 4 lugs, you'll see no trace of a bracelet having ever been fitted. So it looks like Marlon knew how to tinker with watches. And when he bought this new, he had them remove the bracelet immediately and put it on a rubber strap. The strap that's on it now is not the same strap that was in the movie Apocalypse Now, but a rubber strap that Caroline Barrett bought for him probably in the 1980s when the old strap got...
a tropic strap of some kind.
When the old strap
So this was the strap that was on the watch?
It's a similar style. So she replaced the strap later on after the movie.
Wow. All right. And now we've got to move on here because I got to jump out at 10 o'clock.
Beautiful.
What else do we have here?
So we have probably the most viewed watch ever, worn on the wrist of Jack Nicklaus for 50 years.
Right.
The winner of 18 majors. He wore this watch for 12 of the 18 since he received it in 1967. It was his first watch ever. He got it as a gift from Rolex in 1967. And in 2017, after wearing it for so long, he decided, you know what, I don't want to give it to my children who will never wear it. I'm going to donate it to my charity, and we're going to sell it to raise funds for the Nicholas Children's Healthcare Foundation.
Wow, that's cool. And this is lot number 18.
Lot number 18, symbolic in 18 majors, 18 holes in golf. And
here, again, lots of shots. What we love is like the Vic Elford photographs. The lots of shots of him with his trophy wearing the watch. He made sure to make sure on these swings when he's holding the trophy that his watch is visible.
It was really his companion.
Watch guy.
His true watch guy. He loved the watch.
Here's him later on in life wearing it. Wow. This is great.
He got other watches in his lifetime, but this was his go-to watch.
And it's an 18-karat gold, yellow gold day date.
Rolex day date on a president
36
bracelet.
millimeters?
Exactly, 36 millimeters with a kind of special dial where the hour markers are tapered and faceted, sort of reminiscent of golf tees.
Oh, yeah.
It's hardly ever seen, and it's the original dial, the original case, in just really lovely. But all proceeds for charity, even Phillips's buyer's premium, will be going to his charity.
That's great. If you're a golfer and you like Jack Nicklaus and you like watches, that's something to be casually wearing on the green. Zuckerman, look at you taking pictures.
I'm just stunned by the beauty
the Brando
of these
watch
watches.
is great.
Yes,
The Brando watch is like
There's
magic.
nothing we love better.
Estimate?
We have not determined the estimate yet. It says in the catalog, estimate on request. And now we're on the fourth stop of our world tour here in Los Angeles. The watches have just come from Geneva. We were
And
there
what
this
does that
weekend.
mean? Where do you go?
So
Where are you going in L.A. here?
We're at Le Claire, not too far, about 5 minutes away, showing the watches to our clients who are here on the West Coast. So we're on view for 2 days with 75, all the lots in the sale. And clients can come, see the watches, examine their condition, speak to us about their history.
Right.
It's what we do when you auction a watch with Phillips. We take them to our cities where our best clients are, so that they get a sense and are able to hold and assess their quality.
Yeah, I mean it's movie memorabilia, and it's also watch history, and it really it's one of my favorite movies, right?
Yeah,
I never really connected the watch
cool
to the guy until this moment, right? Those scenes are so intense.
So
I never
intense.
even, and I don't even think Rolex was on my radar when I first saw the movie, but God.
And this is the 40th anniversary of Apocalypse Now, coincidentally. And what we learned is that Marlon Brando signatures are extremely rare. He never signed autographs. So to find anything signed by Marlon Brando, it's not easy.
Ding, 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 ding. The price, every time this guy opens his mouth, the value of the watch goes up. Masterfully done, Mr. Boutros. Masterful.
There's also some other great stuff in here, you guys.
Yes.
So the auction is when? December 10th. December 10th in New York City.
On the 9th of December, we'll have a cocktail and panel session with Jack Nicklaus, with Petra Brando. I'll be on the panel, hosted by CNBC. We'll be talking about these watches. We'll be talking about the legacy of Marlon.
You've got military subs.
Yep. We have 2 Benrus CIA watches with clear provenance. We have a Submariner, a Big Crown James Bond Submariner that was found at the bottom of Lake Erie. It sat there for 20 years and survived.
Wow.
And the owner thought for 25 years it was a fake and just kept it in his closet until his friend said, "You got to call Paul. I think you got something special." Calls me, and I said, "Your watch is worth $80,000 to $160,000."
Wow.
And the guy was
Well, I'm
absolutely
looking
floored.
at this 6263, and the estimate's 80 to 160. Those things have really moved.
That's retailed by Tiffany and Company, that particular one.
Oh, it's got a Tiffany dial.
Yeah.
I never understood the Tiffany dial. I have to say, as someone wearing a watch, I don't really want to have the word Tiffany on my wrist.
It's definitely a personal taste thing.
Not that anybody can see it.
It adds more text to the dial.
And look at this. You have a Tudor Snowflake. These are one of my... I have a Tudor Marine Nationale.
Oh, yes. So similar reference. The Marine Nationale is very special. It's a military.
8,000 to 16,000 already.
Beautiful blue dial.
I picked up that watch for a couple grand.
Oh, you did great.
Just because I liked the way it looked. They gave me the certificates and the whole deal.
Incredible. Now it's worth significantly more with the
we'll talk about that
military
after.
background.
I just, again, love the way it looks. You also have this, these have been on my radar lately, the Universal Compacts.
Yes, so we have the exotic Nina there, the rarest configuration of the Universal. Comes from the original owner.
It does?
Who was a sailboat
It's very
enthusiast.
Daytona-like in its presentation,
Holy
right?
moly.
But
It's
a
beautiful.
little more 70s. And
the price is quite good.
Yeah. Estimate is 10 to 20. Wow, a lot of great stuff. I'm going to be in New York, but not for this auction. Unfortunately, I'm going to be there a week after. I would
Oh, it's too
totally
bad.
come here, take my Discover card out,
We got a
Start
couple
buying
special
stuff.
Paul Newman Daytonas, 3 of them. One is a Paul Newman Lemon. The other's a John Player Special. Both fresh to the market. Lemon...
this is a gold watch, though. A 6241 reference, right?
It's John Player Special, yes.
Oh, that's it.
With,
Estimate there,
350
to 700.
700.
That's serious.
Big numbers.
Big
Yeah,
numbers.
with the original guarantee.
Wow.
And unpolished, perfect dial. We have 2 extraordinary Patek Philippe watches, both fresh to the market, a 1518 perpetual calendar chronograph with a pink gold case and pink dial. Estimate starts at $1.2 million.
Wow.
And $24.99, the successor
believe this?
reference, previously unknown, probably unique. Estimate starts at $1 million. So game changers in the field of watchmaking. Those references
Fantastic. Give before you go. Our listeners who are just entering the watch buying phase of their life, what's the best advice you can give them for as far as buying a watch? What are they looking for when they're looking for collectible watches?
First and foremost, buy what you love. Go to stores, go to auction previews, try the watches on, see how they fit your wrist. Then focus on those brands that appeal to your sensibilities, but look for brands who do things in their own original ways, that they're not derivative. They're not copying other brands' creations, but they're doing their own thing.
Well, say they know. Say they want to get into vintage Rolex and vintage Hoyer or vintage Tudor. How do they find the good ones as opposed to maybe the put-togethers or the other ones? How can they be sure of that stuff?
It really, if you're going to do it on your own, it takes a lot of research and education and really study before you buy. However, you can always come to an auction preview, meet us, a specialist, give us an email.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be happy to talk you through what's good and what's bad, but also deal with good dealers who will stand behind their products, and they're out there.
Will papers guarantee that the watch is good or not?
No, the papers can be easily faked, and more easily faked than a watch.
Really?
Yeah. So be careful.
How do they do that? Just by copying down some other serial number and just saying this came with that?
You can find blank papers on eBay, and then people handwrite the numbers.
So who are the guys? There's just like known guys like there are in the Porsche community that know their stuff and they're honest dealers.
You can trust them, guys.
So they can look inside and go, this is not right, or it is right.
Yeah, we're all human. Sometimes we make mistakes, but if a mistake is made and they sell you a watch that turns out to be not correct, they will stand behind it and always give you your money back.
Right.
Those are the kinds of dealers you want to work with.
Cool. Well, man, thank you for coming in. This is exciting.
Thanks for having me.
I've just lost millions of dollars at this.
Look what Zuckerman's got. His newest purchase from Hodinkee.
Oh, great watch.
5512. That had some papers with it, right?
Yes, but now, what?
Well, you can trust Ben Clymer.
Yes, it's a good
Hodinkee,
source.
they're
Wow, you
fantastic.
got a good one.
It's a nice one,
The
right?
case is really sharp.
That watch is
beautiful
delicious.
patina, great dial.
Isn't it beautiful?
Well
Love
done.
If he wanted to get a box for that,
You can find them.
yeah, it's 70s.
70s.
Were the boxes all the same for the early Rolexes?
The Submariners, the sport watches were pretty much all the same,
Okay.
different than the dress watches. But you could find them, $300, $400.
Yeah.
And Hodinkee can source it.
Yeah,
for-
and by the
for
way,
you.
paper's more important than the box.
For sure,
Because
yeah.
you're going to just put that, you can put that watch anywhere, but that watch is lovely.
It's all about the watch. In this case, that watch is gorgeous.
Yeah,
Thank you.
What a win. What a win. Well, thank you, Mr. Boutros,
Thank
for
you
coming
very
back
much,
and visiting
gentlemen.
us.
Really great to see you once
Come
again.
back again when you have some other cool stuff. That's it for everybody. We'll see you next week on Spike's Car Radio.
Thanks for listening to Spike's Car Radio. Download new episodes every Wednesday on the Podcast One app or subscribe now at Apple Podcasts or PodcastOne.com.
Well, as we head into the back half of the NFL season, it's always a bittersweet moment. So much great football is behind us, but the good news, there's a lot of football in front of us. The NFL playoff push, college football playoff arguments, and soon enough, bowl season. Bowl season. I don't know why I said it like that. But if you're looking to add some excitement, make BetDSI.com your betting partner. Using BetDSI's live betting platform where you can watch all the events and even bet all the games until the final whistle. Now new members get a 100% bonus match using the promo code SPIKE101. That's it. Just put in SPIKE101 and you double your money to start winning today. Why choose BetDSI? They've been paying winners for over 20 years. They are the top-rated site on betting review websites. You can use your sports knowledge to make some extra cash this week. New members get a 100% bonus match using the promo code SPIKE101. That's double your money. Once again, go to betdsi.com and use promo code SPIKE101. 101 and get this limited time 100% bonus offer to make some extra cash. It's only a game until you bet it at DSI. Attention true crime lovers, if you haven't checked it out yet, be sure to catch up with the hit Reels channel podcast, Murder Made Me Famous. Join crime reporter Steve Helling and those involved in the cases as they examine the most infamous crimes imaginable to unravel the twisted personalities that were thrust into the spotlight, including the Green River Killer, Jeffrey Dahmer, the real Zuckerman, and Jack the Ripper. Download new episodes of Murder Made Me Famous every week on Apple Podcasts and Podcast One.